Yo, what's up Beatbox family, it's your boy Stitch, and today's video is gonna be an interesting one. So in this video, I'm gonna share with you a few things that you can ask yourself or do by yourself that will help you find your beatbox style or improve your current beatbox style. So yeah, I've been beatboxing for about 6 years, and till this day, I'm still trying to find new things, new methods to improve my style, to evolve it, and I just wanted to share with you guys a few things that I've learned over the past 6 years in this video. So let's get into it with some breakfast. Okay, so let's get to the first point. The first thing that you want to do is ask yourself this question. What do I want my style to sound like? Now, I know that sounds very basic, and a lot of us ask ourselves that question, but I feel that a lot of people don't answer it right. What do I mean? Well, let me explain. You see, a lot of times when people ask themselves that question, they give a very vague answer. Ooh, I want it to be very technical. I want it to have a lot of bass. I want it to be very musical. Now, those answers are not wrong, but it definitely does not help you. Because if you wanted a beatbox style that has a lot of bass, you would have just done that. You would have just put a lot of bass together and boom, that's your style. If you wanted a very musical style, you would just write some lyrics, put a lot of melodies, etc. So answering the question like that doesn't really help because it just gives you a vague outline of what you want your style to sound like. So to answer this question better, use important keywords. So let's take me for example. When I first asked myself this question, this is my answer. I said I wanted my beatboxing style to sound very satisfying. Now, satisfying is still vague because when you hear Inertia drop a lot of bass, that's very satisfying to listen to. When you hear Alem drop a lot of technical beats, that's also very satisfying to listen to. So then I had to ask myself, what kind of satisfying do I want? So then I told myself, I want the kind of satisfaction that comes whenever I listen to a song on the radio and the sounds that they use in the song or just the way that they sang the lyrics in the song made me feel like I was floating. I also wanted my sounds to give you a very warm feeling. Then I added more keywords to it. I said I wanted my style to have a sharp and smooth sound to it. Some of you might be asking, hey Stitch, how does this help us improve or find our style? Well, let me explain. Now, the first thing that answering this question helped me with was finding my sound set. Now, obviously, you and me, we all have our own favorite sounds. But that doesn't mean that it should all go into our sound set, because I feel that our sound set should cater towards our style. So I said I wanted my style to sound satisfying in a way that it makes you float. You know what's the number one sound in my sound set that fits that criteria? Polyphonies. See, pretty straightforward. Now what else? I said I wanted my style to have a sharp and smooth sound to it. Now what sounds do I use today that have a sharp or a smooth or maybe both a sharp and smooth characteristic towards it? You got the trumpet, you got the old trumpet, and many more. Now answering this question also helped me find methods to use my sounds. I said I wanted my style to give you a warm feeling. Now obviously I don't want you to get a warm feeling whenever you listen to my beatbox all the time, because that would be boring. If it's the same thing all the time, it would be boring. But whenever I wanted to convey a warm feeling, I had a template for it. I had a variety of different amount of methods that I could use to help me deliver that warm feeling. One of the most basic methods is to use a warm melody. Some of you might know this one. Now, obviously, everyone interprets beats, melodies, lyrics, etc. differently. But the most important thing is what you got from it. When I made that beat, I said that's a very warm feeling beat. Now, if I got a warm feeling beat from it, that means a lot of other people definitely got that feeling as well. Not everyone got it, but I'm pretty sure a lot of people got it. And that's what matters. Okay, let's clean this up and get to the next part of the video. Yeah, doing this with my hand got difficult, so I used a book instead. Alright, point number 2. Now, this is something that I learned during my first few years of beatboxing from a guy named Artsy. For those of you who don't know, Artsy is Hartzell's tag team partner. So yeah, the thing that Artsy taught me was to balance my highs and my lows. In simple terms, you have high sounds, you have low sounds, and you want to balance them out. Now, does that mean that 50% of the sounds in your sound set have to be high sounds and the other 50% have to be low sounds? No. Every sound set is different, so you want to experiment and maybe ask yourself some important questions and you will figure it out easily. For example, my style comprises with a lot of high sounds, so I needed to balance out the lows. Now for me, it was pretty straightforward. Now I wouldn't really use a sound like why? Because it has a rough texture to it. Like I said earlier, I wanted my style to have a very smooth sound to it. It would be fine if I used that sound once or twice, like a little bit here and there. But because I wanted to balance out the highs and lows, I needed to find a low sound that I would use a lot of times. A lot of you say, Stitch, you have a very dope inward bass, and I do, but it's just not suitable for my style. It's a dope inward bass, it sounds pretty cool, but it's not suitable for my style. Or as I would like to say, I haven't found a method on how I would use it to fit my style. That's why I went with the most mainstream bass sound. The lip roll. It's a nice low sound and it has a smooth texture to it. That's why you don't see me using teeth lip rolls all the time, and I'm pretty good at them. Why? Because they have a more rougher texture compared to a normal lip roll. So a normal lip roll fits my style pretty well. And as you see from most of my videos, my low sounds are just lip rolls, right? Once in a while I will use a click roll, right? But most of the time it's just a lip roll, just one sound, and that covers the lows completely for me. Now, obviously, you could have figured out to find a low sound after answering the first question that I taught you earlier. But if you didn't, this second question will probably help you. All right, let's get to the next point. You know what? I'm not gonna do that. I hate it. I don't know why it's so difficult. I don't know how people do their thing. Like my hand just lights up. Look, I look like I'm an albino or something. But yeah, let's just get to the next point. Okay, we are back in my room right now. Okay, so the third tip is something that I find to be very cool and very useful. It's something that has helped me find my style in the first place, but more importantly, it's also something that I still do till this day. Now, everyone has preferences. Everyone has listened to a certain beatboxer and said, hey, I think that beatboxer is dope. And then you listen to another beatboxer and you're like, not really my cup of tea. So basically, you want to do that to yourself. Ask yourself, what kind of beatbox style do I not want to have in my tracks? And this is one of the first things I told myself that I did not want to have in my beatboxing style. The typical beatbox buildup. Now, obviously, that buildup works fine and very amazingly when you're doing it live in a battle or a showcase. But whenever I make my tracks, I want to make, tracks. Something that people would love to sit down and listen to, be it on YouTube or Spotify. I also have this thing where whenever I make my wildcards, I make sure that every section of the track is important, meaning I give a certain amount of time to make that track. I don't want to make a really amazing drop that I spent a lot of time on, and then for the build up I make something lazy like. So for a few months every day when I freestyled or when I was in my room making routines, I made sure I did not use that build up. And that was very difficult because when I first started beatboxing, all of my build ups were or. So I've been doing that for like the first 2 or 3 years of my beatboxing, and now I'm telling myself not to do it. I found it difficult to detach myself from using that. But you gotta be patient, you gotta persevere. And if you notice from my wildcards, my routines, I don't use it anymore, right? I never even think of using it anymore. I might use it in a live battle, but whenever I make tracks for YouTube or Spotify, notice how I rarely or almost never even use it. Instead of using a I have a cooler build up with a nice melody or a pre-chorus. And for me, I feel that works better for my style. So you gotta ask yourself a question. What do I not want to have in my style? And basically don't do it. And everyone's different. Maybe you would tell yourself, hey, I want to be a musical beatboxer, but I don't want to be musical like Gene Shinozaki or Stitch. Because most of the time when they're musical, they use melodies. I want to be musical without using melodies most of the time. And hot take everyone, you don't need melodies to be musical. Okay, I know I use melodies all the time, but I'm saying this because I've seen judges judge wildcards all the time and they say, oh, I'm looking for a melody so I can give this person musicality points, which in my opinion is kind of BS because I've seen a lot of beatboxers who don't use melodies, who don't have lyrics in their routines, and they are so musical. Moving on, maybe you would say, oh, I want to be a technical beatboxer, but I don't want to be a technical beatboxer like Alem, right? Alem's a dope technical beatboxer, but he comprises mostly of fast beats. Fast beats are dope, but I think I would like to do technical beats that focus more on rhythm, technical beats that focus more on tempo change. And if that's what you want to do, then tell yourself, okay, whenever I freestyle, I gotta freestyle with having rhythm and tempo change in my mindset. So every time you do a technical freestyle or you make a technical routine, you are forcing yourself to think about technicality from a tempo aspect, from a rhythm aspect. So you're not just thinking about putting some sounds together and making a fast combo. That's dope, but if that's not what you want to achieve, then you don't do it, right? It's pretty straightforward. Why is this important? Well, let's take me for example. I was doing build-ups for so long, and then I told myself not to do it anymore. Now I have a space in my routines that is called build-up, and I didn't know what to put there. And eventually I found a style of making build-ups or pre-choruses that fit my style. Now, what do you do when you find that? What do you do when you find a method to be musical without using melodies? What do you do when you find a method to be super technical without using fast beats? Simple, you expand on it. Basically, okay, I have this method now to make build-ups. How do I level it up? And you guys see me do it all the time. Most of my build-ups have a very similar characteristic. There's some melody, there's some arpeggiatos, but I try to change it up every now and then. So basically, this is the third tip. Limit yourself, and then from what you found in that limited space, expand from there. Ask yourself, okay, what do I not want to have in my style, and do the opposite. And sometimes you don't even know what the opposite is. When I told myself to do I said, okay, if I can't do that now, what should I do? And for a few months, I didn't know what to do. But I forced myself to continue freestyling and making routines in that manner without a build up until I found something. And when you find something, when you find it, expand it. Make it better. But yeah, that's it for this video. Oh, wait. One more thing. Fun fact, I stayed over at Den's place last week. Did we record a video together? Did we record a beatbox game together? Did we record a track together? I am just gonna act like I don't know. So stay tuned for that. But yeah, comment below on what other videos should I do next. Maybe you want another video like this where I share more tips, because I do have more tips. So yeah, comment that below. Like the video because the button's right over there. And if you're new to the channel, subscribe. We are so close to 100k subscribers, and I would appreciate all of you if you could get there. So yeah, I will see you guys in the next video.
Bye bye.